Hi guys, welcome back to my rabbit hole of K-pop. I am Atomic Rabbit. I feel like I missed a lot for MONSTA X in the past months, ever since their last comeback, which is probably the case. I know I still have a whole season of MONSTA X-Ray as well to watch, but life is picking up pace and we're out of pandemic. I know we had a lot of restrictions, but it felt like a lot of freedom for me and a lot of time that I had, which has now gone into socializing again, doing things, going to therapy, going out, as in outside, having to be at places instead of only being at home, picking up a new study again, which is only part-time, but still it's taking my mind off things and it's eating at my time to spend on this. So that is the reason why I'm only now sitting down to watch Beautiful Liar, but I have listened to the album and I will keep my thoughts for that while watching the MV, because I know some people like to skip intros, so it would be a shame to put it all in here instead of during the watching of this MV. So yeah, let's go. I love Kyun's hair. His hair is just that haircut.
차가운 그 눈빛 날 갖고 놀듯이 묘한 듯 끌리지 거부할 수 없는 beautiful eye 빛처럼 붉게 핀 너의 그 혀끝은 가시 가둬졌지 기꺼이 맞아 another lie 탐색하듯 맴돌아 위태롭고 위험해
I'm sorry, what?
But I like it 절대 찾지 못한 너를 지우리 새까맣게 번져 내 혈관 속 가득 찬 너의 거짓은 차가운 그 눈빛 날 갖고 놀듯이 묘한 듯 끌리지 거부할 수 없는 beautiful lie 빛처럼 붉게 핀 너의 그 혀끝은 가시 가둬졌지 기꺼이 맞춰 I love you like Love me, tell me 내가 너를 갈고 하대 do you want me I like when I'm in danger love me harder when I shot it I feel like don't like basic Is this what you call lovesick 이 거짓된 사랑이라도 기꺼이 삼켜먹게 깊숙이 새겨진 타투 고통과 희열의 다툼 까맣게 물들여진 내 심장이 다 뚱뚱뚱뚱 우린 part 2 이건 전쟁이 연장전 네 입술은 달콤한 함정 이 반전에 반전 야릇한 감정 어서 더 참이 날 끌고 가 Toxic so addictive 나를 미치게 한 단 한 가지 걷잡을 수 없이 나를 뼛속까지 망친 내 거짓은
Sorry. Oh, 1 second. Is that chest? Is that... Okay. These are people. These are men. These are not bits of meat. No. Okay, I'm not like this. I am not like this. Okay, let's just... Yes, that's definitely chest. I'll just take this opportunity to say a little bit about the album, if I can remember the thoughts I had. Yes, so I've noticed a trend for myself. Trying to distract yourself from titties is kind of difficult, probably comparable to men having to think about other things than sexy stuff, because apparently that's pretty hard for men to do. Anyways, I've noticed a trend in my love for music, and then specifically K-pop music, and I have noticed that the groups that speak to me the most, the music that they produce, not only produce themselves, but I mean bring out into the world for us to listen to, is unique within the K-pop scene. Weirdly enough, those groups are often very underrated too. They're usually not the most successful when it comes to K-pop. When it comes to, well, music in general, which is mostly due to the fact that K-pop still is very much underappreciated in the rest of the world, but that's a whole different point. I think that groups like MONSTA X would be hugely successful if K-pop would be extremely mainstream, like pop and rock and classical music. Why I'm naming classical music as mainstream is beyond me, but it is kind of mainstream. It is known worldwide. It is known. We know classical music. It's being used everywhere. So basically, it is kind of mainstream. K-pop isn't. But I think that if they were to be part of that mainstream movement, they would be hugely successful, because what they do with music, those groups that to me speak the most, and then in particular MONSTA X, they take music and, I was gonna say redefine, reinvent, but that's not really the case, because it is pretty hard to reinvent music, because it's been around for ages and it's actually been reused and reused. But what MONSTA X does is they make music the way music is supposed to sound. They make music and use it the way it is intended to be used. Because I listen to MONSTA X and I am reminded of my whole childhood. This album is reminiscent of, like the album as a whole is reminiscent for me of what I listened to when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. It is the sound that is coming from Reason is bordering on the 80s, 90s, early 2000s sounds that we had that have been long forgotten because it's the 80s, 90s, 2000s and we don't listen to that music anymore because it was from that time, and now we have to do everything differently and we have to use all the same beats and all the same tracks, and it's so boring. And this is so far from boring because they respect music. And this song, this beat, this is Fame. This is that song from Fame with that constant beat going on. There's another Sam, not Sam Smith, Sam something. The song is called Black and Gold, and it was used in a remake of Fame, and it has that same kind of cadence in it, that rhythm. Every time I listen to MONSTA X's albums, I am surprised by how much I needed to hear those sounds, how much I missed music like that. I am just taken on a ride by them. It's like I'm taken on a bike ride by Johan on his motorcycle, and he's showing me all those beautiful things. That is what it does, and all those beautiful things are shaped by the voices of the 6 members of MONSTA X, and I miss Shonu because he would have killed all the songs that have been coming out ever since he's been in the military, and it's only gonna get worse. But we know they're gonna be back, and in the future there are probably gonna be performances and where he also gets lines, and it's gonna be amazing. Every song is different on every album, and how they manage to make songs that sound like a nightmare, for instance. Remember for Fatal Love, I said that Thriller sounds like a thriller movie. For this album, they did it again, and I can't remember the title right now because I was listening to the album and not looking at the titles because I was listening to it while I was driving, so I couldn't look up the titles. But you probably know which song I am talking about. They now have a song which sounds like a nightmare, and it's beyond me how. And it's one of my favorite songs ever, just like Thriller. Because for me, it is like reading a book and shaping my own scenery that goes with that, instead of someone showing it to me. And on the other hand, I would have loved to watch the realization of that song. I would have loved to watch an MV for that song, just as much as I would like to have watched an MV for Thriller, because knowing MONSTA X, they would have made something completely mind-blowing out of that. Their music just speaks to my imagination, and that is what music is supposed to do for me. It is supposed to make me imagine things I didn't know were there or I didn't know exist, and that is what these guys do. 난 pain 다시 또 pain 아직도 아물지 않아 실패인 감동 네가 보여준 사랑의 방식 모두 trap 내기적인 사고 고통스러운 아픔도 네 앞에 fine art Tell me you love me cause 더 좋으니 oh I'm at the right now 위태롭고 위험해 짙어 I hate the abrupt endings of this album. I forgot that. I forgot how abrupt the endings are. That's the only thing I hate about this album. That I believe 3 out of the 7 songs have abrupt endings and they leave you hanging like a climax that didn't come. That sounded really wrong. Thank you so much for joining me on my couch. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. Annyeong!